Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
An obscure body in the SK system, Your Majesty. The inhabitants refer to it as
the Hail Ming Power Hour.
Hail Ming.
This is Sean Connery, and you're listening to the Hail Ming Power Hour.
Hello, all you galactic space nerds. Welcome back to
the Hail Ming Power Hour.
And here with me to go through the episodes is the Buddy Revell to my Jerry Mitchell, Danny Bennett.
Well, congratulations, all of you listeners today, because we are in for a treat. We have a special guest, and it is the Crypt Keeper from the Tales from the Crypt. We got him here, and he's going to cackle, and he's going to make bad puns, and it's going to be a great time.
Hail Ming.
Well, we're here actually today to go through two romantic comedy / sex romp comedies of the 80s. Just One of the Guys.
Yes.
And 3 O'Clock High.
Kind of changing the pace a little bit, step into a different genre, I guess you'd say, of these movies, and going pure 80s teen movie on you.
Yeah, and it's a fun teen movie, too. It's not just a teen movie for the sake of putting some teens on there. There's actually some plots there. There's a confrontation with the greater evil. There's a gender bending.
Right. We're not talking joysticks here.
No, we're not. This isn't some, War Games with Matthew Broderick. I mean, what was that even about?
Hail Ming.
Anyways, we are super excited about having our first guest ever on the Hail Ming Pow Hour. And that guest's name is Robert Galluzzo from the best podcast about horror movies there is, Killer POV.
We are just tickled pink.
Yes.
Pretty in pink.
I am a diehard fan of Killer POV, and this is like getting Elvis to be on your show, man. This is awesome. The guy is just full of knowledge. He works in the industry. He's a musician. He's a producer. He's directed. He's done all these things. He's just a genuinely nice guy. For him to take time to stop and just hang out with us is just absolutely awesome. So I'm glad to have him on the show.
Yeah, and if you think he's done with all that Rick just mentioned, well, you're wrong, because he's everything wrapped up in one, but he's working hard to become everything wrapped up in two.
Wrapped up in two?
Wrapped up in two.
All right.
No, of course, it's good to have him on the show. He brings a lot to the table. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So enough of my yapping. We'll be right back with Just One of the Guys.
Hello, kitties. It's your old friend, the Crypt Keeper. And you're listening to the Hail Ming Power Hour.
And now, Rick has a simple question. Why?
George Lucas. Greedo shooting first. Why? Are you out of your mind? Do you know how ridiculous this looks? It's like going back and giving Bruce the Shark in Jaws eyebrows so he can have more expression. So why? You're raping my childhood, Lucas. All right, everybody, welcome back. So excited about this. This is going to be a ton of fun. First time we have a guest on our show. and super excited. I couldn't think of anybody any better. So as you can tell from the promo earlier, we've changed gears a little bit, going from the sci-fi fantasy stuff into straight up 80s sex rom-com teen movie. So when I hear the words 86 rom-com movies, I couldn't help but think of Mr. Robert Galluzzo.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that. Thanks, I think.
Oh, man. For you out there that don't know, this guy is just a machine. This guy's done so much work and had the chance to meet him. When it comes to podcasting, this guy's pretty much my hero, and the team that he's with, Killer POV. I started listening to him and I listened to 78 episodes in 3 months. So,
holy smokes. Wow. You're the one. That's
I'm
great.
the guy. Yeah. So if you are looking for a horror podcast, Killer POV with Rob Galluzzo.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here to not talk about horror for once.
Yeah. He never gets a break.
It's certainly a good deal to get to meet people. I'm relatively new to it. You know, Rick is obsessive, and he has a tendency to just grab everything he wants and consume it. I have
just
to have
like
the
your
fortune
salad
of,
bar.
Yeah, just like your salad bar. Killer POV. You guys have a wealth of knowledge and a lot of experience, and you can tell when you bring it to the table. The only problem I have with it is, I'm so woefully behind the curve that when I listen to one episode, it's like, well, there's 60 movies that I'm probably not going to catch up on, and they all sound pretty awesome.
Right.
So it's kind of disconcerting.
Yeah.
Well, go find them at your own pace. There's no rush.
It's scary how much knowledge is sitting at that table when they're doing these shows and how many movies they've watched. You guys are probably saying, what makes this guy worthy to be on this show? Well,
good.
Danny,
let me know too. I'm curious.
Danny, this guy has an unbelievable love for the Flash Gordon movie.
Yes, it's great. Love it.
Matter of fact, I'm jealous because he says the only way that he will see it is how, Rob?
On the big screen whenever it plays theatrical, which usually happens every other year. It plays somewhere in LA. But that tradition started back in New York. The first time I saw it, I've seen it. It's one of my favorites as a kid, but the first time I saw it on the big screen was on a double bill with Xanadu, which was the craziest 3 hours of my life, and I loved it. So I unapologetically will go see both of those on the big screen anytime they play.
That's awesome.
But yeah, there's no reason to apologize for wanting to go see Flash Gordon. Now, there might be a reason to apologize if you ask somebody to wear one of those Hawkman backpacks.
Oh, yeah. You forgot, though. Rob's spirit animal is Brian Blessed.
No kidding.
Yes.
It's true. Who for the longest time I thought was the guy in Pieces, but I was wrong.
Oh.
The guy who played Bluto? It's not. They're two different dudes.
Right. Now you see why he's on the show?
My wife gets Brian Blessed confused with John Rhys Davies, and sometimes I can see that.
Except you never see a dwarf go, dive!
Well, we could.
Rob, if you would, man, take this opportunity, plug away everything you've done. Seriously, if you need to know anything about horror, this is the guy.
Oh, God. No pressure. Yeah, no, I guess, so there's the weekly podcast, Killer POV, which you guys mentioned. A couple years ago, I did a documentary called The Psycho Legacy, which Shout Factory put out before Scream Factory existed.
Awesome.
So if you love those movies, in particular the sequels, we spend like maybe 20, 25 minutes on each movie. So feature-length doc. And other than that, I don't know. I co-run Blumhouse.com as the senior editor with Becca McHenry, my co-host of Killer POV.
Right.
And we are cranking all sorts of horror content out every single day on Blumhouse.com. So check it out. There's got to be something there for everybody, because that's our goal has been to try to get that fun vibe from Killer POV out on the website.
Right.
And now we've expanded it to, like true crime stuff and just, real life scares, etc. So we're trying to have something fun on there for everybody.
It's another thing that blows my mind about Killer POV, because I keep thinking, yep, they've hit their peak. They can't really go anywhere else. They've covered everything. And dang, if you don't do it the next episode, it just blows my mind that, you're still talking about these things. And I'm like, how do they come up with this?
Yeah, I guess when you love movies as much, look, everyone has a different perspective. So I guess if you love movies as much as you do, you'll always find a new angle in. I mean, I've been writing about horror on the internet for 13 years now. And every week I'm like, oh my God, what else can I say about John Carpenter? Like, we know he's awesome.
Right.
But the thing I've learned now at my age is because of your life experiences, you have a different view of movies, even if you saw them 5 years ago. If you watch it now, because of everything you've been through in that time period, you'll kind of see it slightly different. And, obviously then I talk to somebody like you, Ricky, and obviously you have a different experience with that movie because of your life experiences. Right. So it always shifts. There's always ways to relook at things and reevaluate them. So especially between the three of us, on Killer POV, it's like there's so much that we go through in our personal lives that helps us kind of, give in and talk about the movies. So.
And then there's Elric.
Yeah, and then there's Elric, who just doesn't shut up. But bless him.
Just great chemistry on that show, man. And it's the one that we strive to even try to get close to touch the hem of the garment of,
Oh my God. Well, just do your thing. Just by you doing your thing, you've already achieved as much as us. So totally fine.
I don't gush quite as much as Rick does, but I mean, it's always good, like, just particularly in movies, what we talked about our first foray into podcasting is that just watching movies and enjoying them was such a formative thing for us growing up. And, it might sound trite to say, well, movies shaped my life, but really, people watch movies now and they try and dissect them and they try and redo them and they try and point out all the bad special effects. But if you just sit down for 2.5 hours of a good story, we discovered that we could sit down for 2.5 hours and talk about the movie Krull.
Not in 3D.
Who knew?
Not in 3D, Elric Kane.
Yeah, inside joke.
But yeah, and then another thing I love about Killer POV, and it's just like what we're talking about, they don't beat a movie up. They may not like it, but they're not going to just start dragging it through the mud. And I really respect that. And that's something we've carried to our show too. Everything's got its place. And
everybody's movie is somebody's favorite. No matter, and I remember I used to work at Amoeba here in Hollywood, which is a giant warehouse style record video store. And I worked in the video section, and some young girl came in, was looking for Van Helsing. It's Van Helsing. What are you going to say? Everyone has an opinion when they hear that. They kind of think, yeah, it's a crappy movie. But I went and I found it for her, and I've never seen a girl so happy to have a movie in her hands. So I was like, you know what? Why am I going to knock it? That just made her day. It's, it's every movie's somebody's favorite. So
we're kind of that way with Howling 2.
Howling 2 I've come to appreciate a lot more as the years have gone by. So
I was trying to explain the Howling 2 to somebody the other day, and I just couldn't do it. It's like, well, if Sybil Danning's ever there, Rick and I are going to have to get a soundbite from Sybil Danning. And they're like, why? And it's because of the Howling 2.
And what would the sound be? Her ripping her shirt?
Yeah.
14 times in a row.
Maybe we could get her to howl like a wolf. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So we basically try to convince people they need to check this movie out. So just one of the guys, 1985. It's right up there with a lot of the 6 rom-coms of the time, but with a little twist. And here to give us an IMDb reading, here's John Rambo imitating Rocky Balboa.
Just one of the guys, a 1985 film, rated PG-13, 90 minutes. It's a romance comedy. Terry Griffin has got it all. Looks, popularity, the perfect college boyfriend, and an article that's a shoo-in to win her a summer internship at the local newspaper, or so she thinks. A 6.5 out of 10. It's got the famous person, Stephen Basil. The best quote of the movie is, Denise says, Terry, Denise, why are you in science? They're showing a film strip. Everyone there, I had to talk to you. Denise, I'm really into this article. I know, but I need your advice. You're my best friend. I tried to do this myself.
Hail Ming.
So, Danny, kick us off. Why do you watch Just One of the Guys?
Well, my number one reason, and it might not be in chronological order, but it's got to be Buddy, her little brother.
Yeah.
He is fantastic. He is oversexed. He is in pursuit of the loss of his virginity while his parents are out of town, and it leads him to be just over the top.
Also, he's young Beastmaster.
He is young Beastmaster. We just covered Beastmaster last week, and I was like, man, I've seen that guy somewhere before. And then we were watching, and I was rewatching this one, and I was like, oh, hey, it's young Beastmaster. It's Buddy.
Right. And I think wasn't he on that TV show Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was like the Ferris Bueller ripoff TV show?
Right.
That's what I remember him from.
He acted for a while in a bunch of stuff, but he also he did some producing, and he was in a rock band for a while. And I guess the guy's just kind of a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
He's starting to become my hero now.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
He's right up there with Sybil Danning.
I'm going to call him when we get done. See if he wants to do a podcast.
All right. Another great reason to watch this movie. It is 80s to the max, man. The clothes, the skinny ties, the references, the cars. If you want a timepiece of the 80s, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's got a montage.
Sure, of course.
Every great 80s movie has a montage.
Absolutely. We need a montage.
Well, for me, I love the cast. I was in love with Joyce Heisner, who is the lead.
Yeah.
And the whole thing confused me, obviously, because I'm like, she's so hot, but now she's short hair and she's a boy. I don't understand what's happening. But like a lot of people, I'm sure, I don't think this was a big hit theatrically. I can't remember, and don't quote me on that, but I remember it playing on cable on HBO nonstop. So this was one of those movies that I would always catch on cable, and I was really young, and it was the first boobs I ever saw, and they were perfect. They've never been as great since, because you're kind of like shooting pretty high right there. But I loved it, the comedy, everything about it. I mean, I kind of have a thing for switch comedies, and this is technically one of them, which is two people switching places, vice versa, 18 again, all that kind of crap. But this is one of my favorites, and it's funny that you paired it up with 3 O'Clock High, because I recently rewatched both of them, and the one thing I can say about both is, like, from a script point of view, because now I write, so now I think about things from a writer's perspective. Like, they both have perfect scripts. Perfect. There's not any sort of useless information or scene that you're like, that doesn't really need to be there. Right. It is just perfect from start to finish. Great story, great morals to both of them, great character arcs, and just really, really funny.
Right.
And I love Charlene Finn is in it, kind of young. William Zabka, who is always the villain of every one of these 80s movies. So you can't go wrong with Just One of the Guys. It's one of those perfect 80s. Like, if somebody said what embodies all the 80s movies, I'd probably tell them to watch this one.
That's pretty close.
It hits all the check marks of what you should expect.
I agree. And, in looking this up, I just like you, I saw it on HBO like at least 4 times a week. And I sat down to watch it every single time. And, one of the things that surprised me, Rosanna Arquette came in early on, and she went to the lead and tried to convince her not to have that shirt ripping scene in there. And because I can see why. She was new to it, and she hasn't done a whole lot since, sadly, because she is a fox. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, there's a great if you go on YouTube, I think you could just put in like Just One of the Guys reunion, but they screened it in Los Angeles, I think, last year, and almost everybody showed up. Like, they were all there. So somebody filmed the entire screening Q&A. And that's really, because there's no like special edition of it. So most of the information I got was from that. And, the movie is directed by a woman.
Right.
And she, when Joyce signed on for it, she didn't do nudity. But it was kind of, the way she explained it, the director was like, it's just, like, you can't just sit there and explain like your entire plot or your plan of what you did the whole movie, this and that. It's like the only way to get the point across in like 2 seconds and let this guy know that everything you just said is true is if you showed the nudity. And, she even said, like, it's not exploitive. It's not, it's not just for the sake of it. It's for the story.
Right.
So, sure, to 12-year-old boys who who have never seen such a thing, you're like, holy smokes. But again, looking at it as a writer now, it's totally like, oh my God, they totally, in one moment, were able to like encapsulate, getting a message across to one of the other characters. So there's that aspect of it. She also, at the time, and she seemed like she was very adamant about talking about it, but apparently she was dating Bruce Springsteen. So maybe she didn't have to work a lot. I mean, I know after this, she was on the Flash TV show in the 1990s.
Right.
As one of the love interests. So she's done stuff throughout the years, but I don't know, man. When you're touring with the boss, maybe you don't need to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense to me. I wouldn't do anything if I was on tour with the boss. So,
and well, I'm just kind of sad that I didn't see her in more stuff because just like Diane Franklin, who I got the opportunity to see, both of them when I was growing up, they definitely became the girl I was looking for. And she's got one of those distinctions too. So when I went back, I was like, man, she's done a lot of TV. As far as movies go, I get not a whole lot.
So, Rob, you see how I acted with you coming on the show?
Yeah.
When Danny met Diane Franklin, 10 times worse.
I understand.
It was ridiculous. I've never seen him freeze before.
She's just super nice too. She's like one of the nicest people I've met. I also got to meet Roddy Piper there, and he was just incredibly friendly.
Yeah, such a great guy.
Another reason, because we can go through the whole cast, but Clayton Rayner, man.
Love him.
Or Roner. Clayton Roner, right?
Yeah.
The last name always throws me.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He doesn't mind.
G versus E, man.
G versus E. I can't wait to do that show.
I know. But he's one of those faces you saw throughout the years just pop up here and there. And
yeah, really.
This is where I remember him first.
Yeah, same here. Yep. And then, I'm Madman, and you're like, oh, that's the dude from Just One of the Guys.
Yep.
Right.
Another good one.
And he had his character had that fixation with James Brown. I mean, like, kind of like you said, it wasn't an extraneous thing to the script. It just gave that character a little more depth than just, oh, he's kind of a loser that's nice to people, and she ends up liking him because he's a cool guy. He's got some weird quirks, and that makes him all the more memorable.
Yeah, I mean, all you need to know is he likes James Brown. And you're like, all right, this guy's got taste. He's got style.
He's cool.
He's cool.
So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other funny tidbit, like just sheer coincidence, and that's the other thing about being like a movie nerd and just watching so many movies. I just started revisiting all the Species movies because Scream Factory put out all the sequels, and I was like, oh, let me watch them again. So the writer, one of the writers of Just One of the Guys, wrote Species. Wow! So it's like, how did he write both these movies? That's crazy. So
he was just looking at his H.R. Geiger poster, and he was like, "You know what I can do?
Need some
it's
boobies."
Awesome. Yeah.
They're there in H.R. Geiger too. So I've got down as a second reason to watch Just One of the Guys. You got the weird. Savage Steve Holland-esque high school students. Like the two guys who think they're aliens.
Right.
And the reptile guy.
Yep. I've got that on my list. I just said space nerds.
Space nerds.
They're not a reason to see it.
Lizard guy was Stu Charno from Friday the 13th 2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
I'm here to be your human IMDb. Don't worry.
No, it's good. I'm glad you're there for that. Like normally I can come up with some obscure place where somebody was, but I have to go back a little ways into the 80s to usually do that because
I just usually say that dude.
Right. The dude with the
I know that dude.
Speaking of which, the college boyfriend is the dude from Inferno, from Dario Argento.
Right. Lee McCloskey. And you know what's funny? I wish I knew that because sometimes these pieces of information, but they don't all add up.
Right.
I was very fortunate to do a very lengthy interview with him about Inferno for the Blu-ray. It was just one of those random gigs where like the day before, they're like, "Are you available tomorrow to interview so-and-so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And he was such a nice guy and really, really weird and artsy in the best possible way. Like he had such an amazing. If you want, you'll understand if you watch that interview on the Inferno Blu-ray that Blue Underground put out. But yeah, him and his wife were just really sweet, and we talked for a really long time, and it wasn't until on the ride home where I looked him up, and I'm like, he wasn't just one of the guys. He's the douchey college boyfriend. I could have talked another hour with him about that. So,
and he was such the epitome. He was such the epitome of the college boy, with that flyaway hair, and he's always, oh, weren't we going to go to the frat house? I mean, he's got this voice too. Like I've got an auditory memory, and when I hear voices, sometimes that's what sets me off. I'm like, wait, I've heard that voice. I'll close my eyes and I'll come up where I've seen him again.
Right.
And he's done so much work. I mean, a lot of soap opera work, and I saw Inferno in there, and I've got to have seen him 30 times since this movie.
Yeah.
He's just a hard-working actor. A lot of these people that pop up are, and they make the movie. They're the bit parts and the character actors that really drive these movies.
Yeah, I think you're the supporting cast of these things. Those odd characters are what always makes them stand out to all of us, because either you knew somebody like that, or maybe you were one of those people, and you're like, oh. So, yeah, that's what makes some of these 80 movies as great as they are. Is just as memorable in the supporting cast department as the leads.
Right. Yeah, it's gotta have the right chemistry for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Rob, what you got next?
What do I for this movie?
Sure.
Oh God. What else? Why do I love? I just do. There was you know what it is? I think it's because not that I think Buddy, yet again, the legendary Buddy, the brother. Yeah,
Buddy.
I think he made it like, when you're a young man, guys are gross. That's the best way to put it. But you don't know how gross is publicly acceptable. And I think Buddy just opened a whole world where I could totally talk about how to scratch my balls and, and kind of, let it all out there a little bit, if you will. I guess he kind of made it be like, oh, all right, I'm not that weird, because that's what normal boys are supposed to act like, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's every bit of his stuff is comedy gold.
Right.
In fact, I love when anytime the mom calls and you don't know it's the mom, he's just like cursing out this person on the phone, like, yo, scumbag, yeah, you eat me. And he's like, mom says hi.
Yeah, it's classic.
What kind of family is this?
Just to have a parent that's gone for 2 weeks. When does that happen in real life?
Unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know if they'd be able to get away with this scheme in today's day and age. Although what was that movie from a few years ago it was like practically a remake? She's the Man?
She's the Man.
Yeah, it was one of those, I can't remember, one of those like young, kind of up and coming, maybe Disney stars or whatever. And I remember seeing the trailer and I'm like, oh my God, it's the plot of, it's totally the plot of Just One of the Guys and nobody knows.
Yeah, they different, Disney's cranking them out, and my kids want to watch them all.
It's She's the Man from 2006 with Amanda Bynes. Where she disguises herself. She goes to another school as a boy.
Does she play soccer in that?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I think I've seen parts of that.
Yeah.
And she, as a boy, she looks pretty good with a little short haircut. I think I've seen the finale or something where she made some dude mad at her, and then she okay, well, I'm a girl, but I'm going to go win the game or something. And
right.
It's a feel good moment for everybody.
See, it's Just One of the Guys. It's such a good movie that they've already remade it. So you should go back to the original,
right, and
see that because it's much better.
Right.
Rob, I'm so glad that you brought up that phone conversation, because I watched this last week. And we've been getting our house ready to show and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I was sitting down today just trying to write down, from my past and from last week, trying to remember all the stuff I want to talk about. And I completely forgot to write that down. That is great. It is hilarious. And the reaction that she has when he says, Mom says hi, and she gives him a look, she's eating some pizza. It's hilarious. The way that whole scene comes together, it made me, my wife sat here and watched it with me, and it made her laugh. Because at first she was kind of on the fence about the whole movie. But, then it took her guard down, and by the end of it, she enjoyed it just as much as I did.
It's kind of like the three amigos becoming friends with Cochise,
Yeah. And by the end, you're
friends.
It's genuinely funny, because a lot of times we see these movies as kids, and there's been plenty that I've revisited where not so good, but I guess I found it funny because I was a kid and it just seemed goofy to me then.
Right.
But that's what I meant about these two movies and revisiting them and calling their scripts perfect, it's because you watch them now, and the humor is just as good,
right?
If not funnier than when you initially saw it. So,
yep. And I think you said it a while ago too. The whole him training his sister how to be a guy, and the the walk and the talk and all that stuff. It's just good stuff.
Yeah.
So next on my list, I've got the boyfriend-girlfriend scenario. When she comes home and you got Cheryl and Finn showing up, wanting to hang out with him, and then the boyfriend shows up and she's having to do this double take on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, like a noise is off, kind of like you're in this room and you're in that room, and she's got to change her hair and change her clothes.
Right.
Yeah, that's always good for comedy.
But you know what's better than that? The gym coach.
Oh my God.
Oh God, the guy obsessed with bowling. I forgot about him.
It's a 7-10 split. What do you do? Well, and yeah, the way they throw around the word, is it the word pussy that he uses so often?
Yeah.
He's like, what are you, a pussy?
Yeah.
I don't think you could get away with that today.
No, I miss the un-PC, like I miss the un-PC nature of the 80s movies where, sure, some of the jokes are a little off nowadays, but it's part of time.
Right.
It's the time, it's the era. That's how people talked back then. It's not, that doesn't mean that we're all, racist hate mongers. It's just, if we laugh at that sort of stuff, it's just the way, it's just the way it was then.
There were some school employees that would lose their jobs if they did, and the two teachers talking about how pretty Terry is at the beginning. He's like, did you see what she was wearing? Oh, hi, Terry.
Yeah.
Of course, that guy should lose his job.
Right.
Yeah, he definitely should.
Yeah.
Well, I also think a good thing about this movie is that the teacher was right. She went to another school and she submitted the article as a boy, and she got the same criticism, that it just had no life. It had no soul.
Right.
So she learned the lesson that it wasn't because of gender, which, even though everybody telling her you could be a model probably doesn't help her to feel like it doesn't have something to do with her looks or her gender. But she went with the same article, and with the same critical eye, another journalism teacher said, this just isn't good enough.
Right. But the moral of it was she didn't have any real life experience.
Right.
She didn't have anything that inspired her. And that was, even though, of course, it came off as a critique against her, it was like the timing of it, like the critique of it. She thought it was because she was a girl, because she overheard the teachers talking, etc. And, maybe that played a little bit into it, but she needed to go and have that life experience and meet somebody else. And with any writing in general, it's like, until you put yourself into it, like your actual heart and soul, people won't respond to it unless there's something genuine there that they can respond to.
Right.
So,
and she was influenced by a guy named Rick. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
That's right.
So another one on my list, I said it earlier, young Beastmaster is my hero because of this fact. Cheryl and Finn.
That's the only sex that occurs in the whole movie.
Right.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
I thought about it today when I was putting together my stuff. I was like, they get a lot of bashing because in the 80s there was a lot of boobs, and there were a lot of movies where, people act like Buddy. But for the most part, it was still pretty innocent.
Man, I miss the 80s.
Me too.
Unless they were on cocaine. So the next thing I've got, and I guess we might have, I go out of order because my thoughts don't work that way, but I've got the getting cool montage.
Oh yeah.
Because she's like, okay, we could need to get you a jacket and then a flyaway shirt to go under the jacket and some new pants, and then he comes out looking like, I don't know, like Crockett. It's got like the big gray, like wide open jacket with the big lapel that David smears the spaghetti on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And William Zabka, by the way, also was the bad guy in The Karate Kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they reference the Karate Kid in the movie.
Yeah.
She says, "Hey, he looks like a cross between the Karate Kid and Elvis Costello." So it was hilarious.
And she does.
It's getting all meta.
Well, and the thing is, when I was looking up that stuff, where I noticed that the director was a female, and that screening that you were talking about, and they said that William Zabka said that he had no problem, kicking her around because he had just gotten through doing the Karate Kid. And so he was kind of used to kicking around a kid who looked like the Karate Kid.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, for a bully, he seems like an awfully nice guy in real life.
That's good to know, because a lot of times you just want to walk up and punch him, you know.
Man, he really looks like a super jerk. I mean, he pulls it off well.
He's got it.
And 80s bullies are the best.
Yeah.
I've got that in my notes right here. 80s bullies are the best because they give your awkward teen, like after Terry does so many really cringeworthy things, like stopping in the hall to tell that chick how to fix her earring, and then, I got sisters, you know.
Yeah.
After all that awkwardness, you kind of need somebody to come in and just be such a jerk that it makes it all better.
Right.
It's like, that guy's so bad. I'm glad my main character isn't that guy.
Got one more thing. The soundtrack, which I'm sure Rob has in his vinyl collection.
I do.
Man.
Good one.
Danny, you should see his vinyl collection, man. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? Next time he invites me over, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I post them all on my Facebook page just as like a way to catalog them, like as I'm listening. I'm pretty much all caught up, but I was really lucky because I collected a little bit as a kid, like, you know, when I was a teen. And then, you know, right now the vinyl craze is like at an all-time high, which is so weird to me.
Yeah.
In particular soundtracks, but I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I got right back into it, it wasn't. So like I went on a quest for like every 80s movie and every horror movie, and for the most part I found them all for like $3 or $4 a piece. So nice. I lucked out because now Just One of the Guys is probably $20 minimum.
Yeah.
If you're gonna try to find it anywhere online. So.
Well, you know why? Because it's got Berlin on there. And I'm not talking your take my breath away stuff. I'm talking about real Berlin.
Right. Well, as long as I'm a huge fan of a song being named after the title of the movie. So there is a song called Just One of the Guys on the Just One of the Guys soundtrack. Huge fan of when they do that.
All right. So anything else, guys? You want to do a recap, Danny? You got anything like that prepared?
Here's a reason to watch the movie right here. At the prom, which is on the beach, you've got Sherilyn Fenn slinging the punch because she's been spurned. You've got the shirt ripping open scene, you know, which of course we mentioned. It's definitely something that sticks with you. And then you've got the Buddy shows up with a tuxedo t-shirt with Kevin. Kevin comes to the house and he's like, I'll take you to her, but you got to take me with you because I want to see this. So he shows up and he's like, I got to get spruced up. And he said, well, that's Henry, but
it's Tom Tales.
That's amazing.
So he's got to put on his tuxedo t-shirt and he shows up looking all, you know, buddy-ish. And then they get into a fight. And of course, you know, the bully who's been shown up in the lunchroom earlier in an awesome scene, something to watch for. The bully gets to fighting with our other hero, with Rick.
Yep.
And then, you know, Terry jumps on his back like a spider monkey. And then, you know, he throws her in the ocean, and then Buddy jumps on his back like a spider monkey. But, you know, being the Karate Kid nemesis, he can take them both.
Right. But see, I love that Buddy doesn't hesitate. As much as him and his sister fight, it's like as soon as his sister's attacked, he's like, I gotta step up. And he jumps and tries to defend her poorly.
Well, yeah, but that's it. Like the siblings in both of these movies, I noticed when I was putting them side by side, the younger siblings are really solid characters. They aren't a dismissible foil.
Right.
Who's going to try and like ruin their. He wants to see what happens when he brings Kevin to the prom, but I guess it's because he knows it's inevitable that it's all going to come to a head.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, he's there for his sister.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally.
And Sherilyn Fenn.
And Sherilyn Fenn. He's there for her. She's dressed like Madonna.
Last horror connection, by the way, which I just realized. The girl that plays her best friend, the
Denise.
blonde girl. Yeah, because Denise ends up like with that weird, like, you know, metal dude, the dude in the band. That is the epitome of the 80s. Her name is Toni Hudson, and she is in Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Oh.
Nice.
She's the original hitchhiker that's kind of like just stumbling around the woods.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
well, I love her in Just One of the Guys.
Yeah,
she's a great best friend, and she's kind of the woeful best friend who's looking for a boy.
Yes,
but in that scene, she's dancing with Terry because she's Terry's date, and she looks over and she goes, "I think the band leader's eyeballing me." And that guy with the terrible mullet, He's got the ratty
terrible.
mullet, the big jacket. Oh, mullets are.
Hey man, back off.
He's a pretty ridiculous looking dude, but he's got game apparently.
Well, I pointed out to my wife, I said, you know what? Everybody in that band looks the same. Like they're all wearing the same jacket. They all have the same haircut. And dude definitely is eyeballing this high school girl at the prom. So when you're fast forwarding through just one of the guys and you're stopping at all the buddy parts, make sure you also stop and watch the whole prom.
It's a fun movie, man. I love it.
So I'll give you your lowdown. It's pretty short for this one. Step one, you got to watch for Buddy. Whenever he's on the screen, he chews up the scenery, including when he shows up at her school unannounced and just starts skeezing on some chick who's sitting there having lunch. You got part two, I put down the alien dudes and the reptile guy because, you're watching them and then you start thinking about One Crazy Summer or Better Off Dead. 3, I've got, the Getting Cool montage for our main character's new beau. So I'm just going to scoot on to say 5 is the prom, and watch the prom beginning to end. If you catch all that, then you won't miss out. But I'd say I enjoyed every second of it as much as I did when I was 11 years old.
You shouldn't scan through this one. It's a solid film. But we don't do a rating. I give it a 10. Bang! Just like that.
10.
1 through 10, Rob.
10. I give it a 10. It's perfect.
All right.
I give it a 10 too.
There you go.
I have nothing against it. It held up well. There were moments where I was a little embarrassed for the younger me, especially since I was sitting next to my wife watching it. But then, it won her over, and then we would laugh together. Because Buddy was definitely cringeworthy, but like you said, he gives you the right to be just as horny as he is, I guess.
Yeah.
So normally at this point, I ask Brian Blessed what he thinks, but my soundboard's messed up, so he'll just have to miss this one.
we can't skip Brian Blessed, man. He would say, "Who wants to live forever?" Die!
Good. Yeah. Right. That's Brian Blessed's thoughts. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, have you ever wanted to pump some iron with attitude, but you don't have the money or equipment? No problem. For almost $25, you can be trained by me, Greg Tolan. I can show you how to get the most potential out of your body without stepping foot in the gym. How is this possible, you say? Well, it's easy. Table lifts. That's right. You can use end tables, coffee tables, kitchen tables, and my personal favorite, lunchroom tables. You can pump up with any table and keep the money in your pocket. Can't find a table? No problem. Just pick up a nerd and do some reps. It's that easy. So get the total package, the Greg Tolan package. No pain, no gain. Call now.
And now, Rick has a simple question. Why?
George Lucas making Boba Fett a clone. Why? Then going back to Empire Strikes Back and changing Boba Fett's voice so it'll match this cockamamie story you come up with on a 3-day drunk or something? Did you honestly think this was a good idea? Why? You're raping my childhood, Lucas!
In a lawless land. Well, I suppose Spring Hill Jack just wants to be left alone. When the odds are against the good guys. Now, you don't hear so good. I said, draw! Spring Heel Jack 2. In a western land, the bounce is back with twice the Jack.
All right, we're back. We're going to talk about The Incredible, one of my all-time favorite 80s movies, 3 O'Clock High. And here to give us an IMDb reading, here's your friend and mine, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
3 O'Clock High, a 1987 film, rated PG-13, 101 minutes. It's a comedy. A nerd gets himself in hot water with a new bully, a quiet bad boy who challenges him to fight on the grounds of the high school after the day's end. Like 255. A 7.1 out of 10. It's got the famous actor Jeffrey Tambor, the guy from Arrested Development. The best quote in the movie was, "If I can get the money, do you think he'll do it for me? Question mark."
The best thing 1987 had to offer.
That's probably true.
That's very true. Fact.
And that's a fact. But
well, one of the interesting things I found when I was looking into this, I decided to look up the director, and I'll make this short, but
Phil Genot, we could talk about him.
Yeah.
Well, his name is Phil Genot?
Genot, yeah.
Genot. The thing that jumped out at me was that he directed 2 episodes of Amazing Stories.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's got a. I recently interviewed him because he had just done his latest thing is a Blumhouse movie, which is now on Netflix. Of course, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but if you give me a second, I'll figure it out. But he has a fascinating career. I saw they did a double bill of 3 O'Clock High, and U2 Rattle and Hum because he directed that as well.
That's right.
I saw that in there.
And he did a Q&A in between, he's fascinating. It's so weird. He worked with the biggest band in the world, U2. He did things like Amazing Stories, and he directed a couple of movies, including 3 O'Clock High and Final Analysis and the Gridiron Gang, the one with the
Gridiron Gang. Yep.
Yeah, with The Rock.
Yep.
But then lately, and then he did that really notorious Punisher short with Thomas Jane, Dirty Laundry. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe that's the same guy because he's had quite an interesting career of ups and downs. But as far as directing goes, I don't think anything tops or matches his work on 3 O'Clock High. It's so good. His new movie is called The Veil, by the way, and it's on Netflix Instant.
Nice.
And it's just kind of okay. But his direction, and I think I was telling Ricky before we got on the phone before. A big part of it is that the DP, the guy that shot 3 O'Clock High, is Barry Sonnenfeld, who himself is a legendary director. So I think that was a big part of it. Was you've got a great director as your DP as well.
So Barry Sonnenfeld is your Coen Brothers connection, right? Because I was looking at it and we were talking Sam Raimi and Coen Brothers, and of course Barry Sonnenfeld was the director of photography on Raising Arizona,
right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of those sweeping shots and a lot of those reverse zoom ins that Raimi does. It's all coming together now. I kept calling the movie avant-garde until my wife, who I've made watch both these movies with me, she said, if you say avant-garde one more time, I'm not going to watch this. It's just looking at all the clocks, man. To me, being an untrained eye, avant-garde means really close-up shots of clocks.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of the things that stands out for me on the list. And man, the cinematography is just amazing in this movie. The picking up of the story from classmates to classmates out in the front of the lot in front of the school is just genius.
Awesome. Yeah, again, what a perfectly orchestrated script. You break it down to how they tell the story. In an opening montage, overhearing a bunch of students, everything that you need to know about your bully, the main bad guy, as before he even shows up. And so the second you show up, it's like, I know this guy. I know everything about him based on the gossip, if you will.
And this is where we have to step in and defend 3 O'Clock High, because I think people watching it now, they'd say, oh, it's an 80s movie, and they'd listen to that dialogue, which is really well done, and they'd think it was hokey. Right. Because it's like, did you hear about Buddy Revell? Blah, 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 blah. Did you hear he did this? And it's a great breakdown of what happened. It's done in the context of the movie, which, by the way, has to take place on the school grounds. It's very institutional.
Yeah.
But then, it also has the fact that everybody knows about this guy already, and it tells the viewer about it. But, if you listen to it and you're thinking, oh, this movie's so hokey, it's old, you might just say, well, it's just cheesy. But it's great, and you need to check that at the door and just watch it for what it is and enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know. I would actually argue that, because I would argue it's not hokey, because I actually showed it to my friend has a few teenagers, and we showed it to them last summer for the first time, and they were totally into it. They never made any mention of I think that still happens on school grounds. I'm sure. I mean, kids are kids, so they still gossip. The only difference is maybe if it was a movie now, you'd see text bubbles pop up on the on the screen. It might be people just texting each other, or But I think that's still. It's funny. I some of the stuff that I personally write tends to gravitate a lot towards when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, because that's pretty much when feeling this kind of stuff was at its most potent. So you never forget it. And I was like, I wonder if anyone cares, because it's like I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Would anyone today relate to that? And a really good friend of mine who also directed kind of a teenage horror movie called Excision. His name is Ricky Bates. He's like, that will always. He's like, dude, if you write about your childhood, that will always be universal, no matter what. It doesn't matter what time period. And he's totally right, because then something like Stand By Me, I was just watching the other day, and. Technically, we're not kids in the 50s, but everybody loves Stand By Me. It still works. You get it. Right. You get it. It works. So no matter what, if you're genuine to how kids behave and act, I think it'll always kind of be timeless, regardless of time period or if people have phones or whatever the case is. So, yeah.
That's a good point. I like that, because it's from the kid's point of view of things.
Yeah, totally.
I think
and I'm glad to hear that it has held it, because I was watching it thinking that we might have to defend that, but I'm glad to hear that teenagers can watch it and again just enjoy the movie without being hypercritical.
Yeah, I mean the premise is so fun. I mean, it's essentially nerdy kid accidentally touches new school bully, gets challenged to a fight at 3 o'clock, and then it's like the most suspenseful full day of school as it's counting down to the fight.
Yeah, man, I've got on my list the pep rally, man. He just totally loses it in the pep rally. So
I've never seen a pep rally like that. Let's tear this thing apart and have the sequin tinsel blood fall all over the place while cheerleaders tear this body apart.
Well, I mean, again, the writing and the comedy is so rich. As soon as he gets challenged, everything relates to the fight. So he goes back to science class, and they're watching a movie about a grasshopper getting
scorpion.
Eaten by scorpion. Yeah, it's like the scorpion eats the little defenseless cricket. Yeah, and then there's some book that they're reading in his English class that's
about Achilles.
Hector.
Hector getting dragged through the streets. It's just it's so perfect the way every scene works beautifully in terms of, again, nothing you could really lose that would be that doesn't have anything to do with the movie. It's all just adds to the comedy and the timing of it all.
I like the guy that's wearing the beret that comes up to bet, ask him if he can last 3 minutes.
Character. Yeah.
I think I went to school with that guy.
Yeah, I think you're solid, man. Just run around, do some fancy footwork, just last 3 minutes. It's amazing.
I got quiet because you mentioned Stand By Me, and I had to look up because the main character in 3 O'Clock High is also one of the thugs in Stand By Me.
Yeah, and Casey Samakama, whatever his name is.
Samasco.
There you go, what you said.
And in looking at it, I saw that guy with the beret, and I think he's in it too, but I don't see 3 O'Clock High in his filmography. So
they all had the same agents around then. So
right.
Here's a great one that if you blink, you'll miss it and never know. And I don't even know why I picked it up. But so at the end of 3 O'Clock High, mild spoiler, but not really. there's money missing from the school store. So all the students get behind Jerry and decide they'll throw in $1 for a sheet.
Right.
And everyone starts, throwing in money. The first kid that comes up and says that, like, oh, it's $1 a sheet, I'll take one, is actually Brian Andrews, who was who's Tommy Doyle in the original Halloween.
How about that?
John Carpenter's Halloween.
Nice.
And it's so weird because he's still, at least in 3 O'Clock High, he looks exactly like Tommy from Halloween, only like obviously tall. So you're like, whoa. I mean, it's like a 2-second role, but for whatever reason, I immediately was like, oh my God, that's the kid from Halloween.
Wow.
So
it's always good to make those connections.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know.
awesome.
It's like something fun about that because then I don't know why, you just try to find ways to connect movies. So.
Absolutely. This movie is just full of stuff, man. There is not a lag in this movie. The slowest part of the movie is when he's lighting the cigarette. That takes longer than anything else in this movie. And that scene, man, where he's trying to get expelled is just classic.
Yeah,
man.
No, it's great. I like the comedy of the everything he tries doesn't work.
Right.
Essentially, it all backfires on him, and that's kind of beautiful.
The beating up the cash register, and then after he's on the ground, it opens on its own, and just well placed stuff.
Well, and the colors in the whole place, like, again, it's got that institutional look. All the colors are washed out and all the walls are white. I like the feel of it, where even though he's trapped in the school and the whole thing takes place within the world of the school, he kind of has free reign within it. Like he runs to every wall trying to find a way out, and nobody stops him until he's about to get away, or until like circumstances have already prohibited him from getting away. So it's like, He can go anywhere he wants to go. He just can't get out. And I just think that's kind of a fun, thing to play with, that, the school well enough that you're not prohibited by the rules, but it still doesn't give you what you need to get away from this situation.
Yeah, it's the movie that made me consider working at the school store, because I'm like, that's so cool. I wonder if that's a real job. And like my high school was like a room in like a closet. And I was like, oh, maybe not so cool. But it's the one that made me think, like, that would be a cool job. I was going to say, I think my favorite aspect of the movie, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but, screw it, let's jump around. The fight. I mean, the whole movie is, we mentioned the cinematography already, and then it's like, you're leading up to this event. It's like the whole movie that's what they're talking about. It's like, there's going to be a fight at 3 o'clock. Everyone's going to be there. And the reason I like it is because they shoot it like the freaking end fight of a Rocky movie. It's like the way it's orchestrated and set up, and there's an audience there, and like it's all choreographed. It's just great. It's so great. Yep. And again, I think a big part of that is Barry Sonnenfeld. I mean, he's just such a solid cinematographer and knows how to move the camera that by the time you get what you paid for. Yeah, like like you're going to see a school fight, you get one, and it's awesome.
It's a great fight.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. I mean. And it goes up and down. Somebody tries to stop it and they get knocked out cold.
Right.
It's got every element to it that makes it both dangerous and fun. People jump in from I like when his friend jumps in and he's got Buddy up against that car and he's just kind of slapping him. He's there to hold him off while the little sister, I'm going to point out again, brings him the brass knuckles.
Right.
Again, you got the little sibling who's totally helpful. Being a younger brother myself.
How cool is the fight? Even the principal is cheering it on before it's over with. That's how awesome of a fight this is, folks.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And you got Mitch Pileggi, Horace Pinker from Shocker, but also X-Files.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's like he's the badass security guy.
Wait, what's his name? His name is Duke Herman.
No escaping the
Duke. Make sure to tell your friends, no one escapes the Duke.
This has also just as many, like we just mentioned, him and the best friend, just as many great secondary characters, the Bray guy. But also I love, and I my friend used this quote for his movie, and it instantly picked it up, was the two filmmaker guys that trying to follow him around. They're like, come on, man, pain is temporary. Film is forever.
Film is forever.
Film is forever.
One of the greatest lines in 80s cinema is that.
Yeah, they're on my list too. I love the movie makers, man. Just sign this. It's just a release,
Yeah, pretty great.
And it's not just a fight either. Like everything that you hear about Buddy Revell is he puts people in the hospital and permanently scars them, and it's terrible. It's really frightening to think about what this guy's going through. It's not just I'm going to get punched and I'm going to go down.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I like there were a lot of. It's funny. There's what I call scary moments in not scary movies that I experienced a lot when I was watching these movies in the 80s. And a perfect example is like, the Large Marge scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. When I first saw that, it scared me. Because I was a little kid. I'm like, oh, that's kind of scary. Right. So there's always like that one moment in some of these movies that aren't intended to be scary, but because you're a little too young, that they get you. And for me, it was when he hires the bully to go try to deter Buddy from fighting him. And there's just one, it's like probably the most graphic shot in the movie. Right. There's one graphic shot where he punches him in the face, and when he looks up, he's just like gushing blood from his mouth and nose, and then it just cuts to Jerry throwing up. And I just remember that kind of shocked me a little bit as a kid. I was a little scared of that moment.
Sure.
I mean, now it doesn't matter, but you know what I mean? It's like one of those weird, scary, like, man, this guy can do damage. He's scary.
Right. So, one punch and lays this guy out. Knocks over all the bookshelves, too. So
yeah.
Very intimidating guy. Yeah. So Richard Tyson, big dude, man. He's in Danny's favorite movie, Two Moon Junction.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Kindergarten Cop, which is
he's in it too.
Movies.
It's a toss-up between those two. I love them both equally.
Yeah, I can understand.
But yeah, you mentioned Large Marge. She's in this movie. She's the nurse.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Eden Cobbler.
Not very smart for somebody.
Alice Nunn.
Hypoglycemic. That's right.
Rob, you just nailed what this show is about, why we started it, because our angle is all of these movies we grew up with have those elements in it that are scary. And even though they're not necessarily horror, but that leads you down that path to becoming a horror fan. You've just nailed what the show is about.
No, sure.
And that's our angle. That's what we're trying to do a little different, because that's the way we see it. Wizard of Oz has some scary stuff in it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
There's also a connection to a contemporary horror movie in that the scene where the bully knocks the football player into the library shelves and knocks the knight's armor over and causes that whole domino thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were running a little under budget when they did The Mummy, and they took that same scene and just stuck Rachel Weisz in there. True story.
Is it really? Wow. Uh-oh.
Well, they needed the money to pay Anthony Vosloo, the guy who played the Mummy, and he was demanding quite a bit if he was going to speak ancient Egyptian.
Right. Well, what makes me sad is he was like I like that dude, don't get me wrong, because he played Darkman in the Darkman sequel.
He did play Darkman. Darkman 3. Die, Darkman, die.
But the reason he's in The Mummy is because I always thought he was like poor man's Billy Zane.
Right.
And now it makes me so sad that Billy Zane is like the star of Scorpion King 3.
Yeah.
So now they don't even get poor man's Billy Zane; they get actual Billy Zane to be in those sequels. So anyway, weird.
I think it might have been the Phantom that did Billy Zane in, and I enjoyed it as much as I can enjoy a movie with Treat Williams. But yeah,
well, he gets my eternal respect for Demon Knight. So
absolutely,
I'm all for the Zane.
That is on our list to cover for sure. Love that movie. So.
Demon Knight defies expectations in all ways.
Right.
My other thing that I love about this is the Tangerine Dream soundtrack.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorites that they've ever done, quite frankly.
It's great. Well, folks, you can't go wrong with this movie. Both of these movies we're covering today, there's no sense really in fast forwarding because there's just too much good stuff. So you're in luck. These are classic, great 80s movies that you can't go wrong with. Even though they're not as popular as Breakfast Club or Pretty in Pink, these stand the test of time, I think.
And there's stuff in there like Jeffrey Tambor's in there as the guy running the student store.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And he, I saw him and I recognized his voice, of course, because he's so much younger than, Arrested Development or anything I've seen him in recently.
Yep.
And he delivers a line where he says, whoever did this to the student store needs to be excised like an aggressive tumor in a colon.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, what a line. It's almost as good as "Cripple the Dick," which is probably my favorite line.
Oh, that's a great one too. Yeah.
Cripple the Dick.
And Philip Baker Hall is the detective that comes in. He's been in a ton of stuff too, man.
That guy's the hardest working man in hard work.
What?
I sort of got that.
Yes, got it. It took me a minute.
He was the library cop on Seinfeld, but yeah, other than that, what, like a whole bunch of Law and Orders, and I mean, he plays that character and everything.
Yep.
And what about the principal's office? It's got like the panther coming off the wall. They even do like the panther roar, and he's got like Nazi.
No, that's
he's got books about Nazi stuff.
That's the Wojtek.
Yeah, Wojtek
Mr.
Galinsky.
D. Yeah.
Yeah, like his office is out of nightmares.
Right.
It's what you don't want to see. If you're a student who's never gone to the principal's office, that's what the principal's office is going to look to you.
Right. That guy's got a scary backstory. I'm sure his prequel movie would be terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever it would be. I think these movies make a perfect double bill, by the way. So not only should you not fast forward through them, you should watch them both back to back together.
I agree.
That's my thought.
That's how I watched them. So, but yeah, you can't go wrong with either one of these. So, anybody got anything else? Okay.
I don't know.
I could just do my
improve on perfection.
I'm just go through my points. Say you've got 20 minutes to watch this movie before the world ends, and you just really want to get through it. Well, make sure you watch the ever so slow "I'm in a hurry" montage at the beginning.
Yep.
Because it's like he's in a hurry, but everything he does, he's super slow. Anyway,
right.
So number one, you got the rumor mill scene. I've got that right there. The rumor mill where you learn about Buddy Revell. Awesome stuff. Number two, you got the confrontation with Buddy where he sticks his shoes in the urinal. He goes all over the floor and just flushes it over and over again.
Yes.
I've never seen, like there's the wedgie and there's the knock the guy against the wall. And then there's that. I've never seen that again. Three, you've got the pep rally where the cheerleaders are knocking that thing apart and the fake blood's going everywhere. I think they do that in Napoleon Dynamite too, but other than that, it's a really gruesome kind of pep rally scene, and it's awesome.
And the head flies off, and lands by him's got a skull in it with red glowing eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so I only have 4, 5, and 6. So 4, I've got Wojtek Dolinsky's office. 5, I've got the catharsis on the rooftop because he tries to pay the bully off, and the bully says, at least you could have tried, and then he has to go up to the rooftop and think, and he says, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then 6 is the fight because it's a fantastic fight scene. It's the culmination of the whole thing, and they don't disappoint. That's all I got.
I love the punch when he walks by and he punches the lockers. Then when he turns the corner, he's like, "Oh,
that hurt." Yeah. I agree with all this. The only two scenes that I would substitute there, if you had to fast forward this 20 minutes, I really love the scene with the teacher when he attempts to get detention, and he ends up doing a very perverted book report, and it inadvertently makes the teacher fall in love with him. I just think it's brilliant and really funny, and that's an example of the Tangerine Dream music being like perfectly used.
Nice.
Just like building that tension for that, and I kind of think the library scene where the other guy, Craig Manning, tries to stop Buddy is pretty epic.
Yeah, I still say Large Marge.
We don't want to sell Franny short. Franny, his best friend who has the spirit guide, who says that he's a warrior and he'd be okay. She's awesome. It's just a sub character. Is I guess a secondary character, and she has that romantic interlude with him where as soon as he's like, well, all right, sure, let's do this. She's like, I can't do this, and she goes away.
Yeah,
what's that all about?
Yeah, it's hard to take away what happened there because either she didn't like it or she did like it and didn't know what to do. It's kind of
at the end, she kisses him again. I think it was just she'd been pursuing him for so long that when he decided to come back, she didn't know how to do it. She didn't know how to handle it. She just kind of figured he would say no again and walk away.
There's also a great movie where the dork, the lead nerd character, somehow ends up becoming like such the man by the end of it, because not only does he have his best friend who wants to hook up with him, he's got what's the other main girl's name? Is it Karen? the super hot, most popular girl in school who ends up inviting him to the party.
Yeah.
So she's all about him, like, oh, I hope you'll come to my party tonight. And then the teacher's just like, madly in love. And then what I love is the way that, and it's a good commentary on the opening with the Buddy, everyone talking about Buddy, is then it closes with everybody talking about Jerry. Right. But it's so exaggerated. It's like, I heard he tore Mrs. Farmer's clothes off in front of the whole class. You're like, who is this guy? He's an animal. So maybe the stuff about,
about Buddy
isn't all true. Who knows? I don't know what they're trying to say with that outro, but I always thought that was really fascinating too, is that by the end of it, you're kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's just high school.
How legends are born.
I'm so glad you pointed that stuff out because, as you're going through it, I'm just... Yeah, absolutely. Those are great things about this movie. And, remembering this from my childhood, I had to look back at it and go, man, is that really how this went? Particularly that Franny scene, because that Franny scene's weird.
Yeah, it is a really weird we are here to bond.
Yeah.
So. She's got like a little bed set up with like the school colors or whatever because it's in the school store.
With candles. Yeah. It's like, where did you find candles in the school?
She brought them in her bag, I guess.
Yeah.
This movie is great, and you can't go wrong with it. It's just that simple.
I agree.
I think it's totally overlooked. I think the ones that are really into it understand what a gem of a movie this one is. The ones that haven't seen it, what's the holdup? So rating-wise, it's another 10.
10 here as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to be truthful. It lost something from childhood to today. It's still a solid 9. I won't take much away from it, but there were some scenes in it where I don't know, maybe too much has been borrowed from it since, or I kind of looked into Savage Steve Holland movies because I thought, well, maybe it's just some of those watered it down, but it's like Savage Steve Holland, like Better Off Dead came out in 85 and One Crazy Summer in 86, and this came out in 87. And I think it could have borrowed more heavily from them if I was going to be bothered by that. I'm going to call it a solid 9 and not tell you why.
No, that's still good. That's a good review.
Sure.
I can't say bad things. Yeah.
We need these on Blu-ray because unfortunately they're both only DVD titles right now. So
absolutely, I'd buy both of these in a heartbeat if they come out. So
yep, same here.
Well, is that part of what you do, Rob? Do you like put stuff on Blu-ray and go talk to production companies?
No, I have nothing to do with the actual. It's weird how titles work. I get hired almost as a freelancer by people that. All right, let me explain. So somebody like Scream Factory, for example, they license a title from one of the big major studios, like Universal Studios. They'll license one of their titles. So they decide that they're going to put it out on Blu-ray. And then in turn, they hire a producer to do the special features. Okay. Normally, that producer will call me and be like, hey, since you're in town, can you go talk to so-and-so? And and it's just like a quick day's work. I don't really get much. I don't have as much involvement as you'd think. It's just a one-day kind of thing for most of these. But it's fun because sometimes I get to do the commentary, and then that's like you get to spend an afternoon talking about the movie with somebody involved with it. So that's always a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm like more of a hired gun, but I'm more than happy to participate in any of these DVD releases, Blu-ray releases if I can.
Well, that's awesome.
Makes all the difference when you love them too, because you want to be associated with them in any degree. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, these two, I would work on those in a heartbeat if somebody called me, because I know them. That's the other thing. If you know the movie through and through, it's easier for you to just jump right in and be like, yeah, I can work on that tomorrow. I've had a few gigs where it's movies I don't, not that I don't love them, but I don't know them as well as, there's probably somebody else more educated to do it, but I'll jump in and really try my best. But yeah, it's more, I'm more rewarded when it's a movie I grew up loving. So
I know Rob's got to run. We appreciate him coming on the show, man. Hey, can't thank you enough. It's just a thrill to get to just sit here and talk with you about these movies, man.
Well, thank you for having me. I don't get to talk about these movies that often, so I really appreciate it.
Right. All right, Danny, you got anything?
Well, just like you, thanks for coming on, Rob. It's great to have your insight because all three of us, we bring something different to the table. And anytime you want to come back, thanks Rick for bringing you on, and thanks for coming with us.
No,
It's been
thanks
a
so much,
blast.
man. I really appreciate that. Maybe a Savage Steve episode at some point.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I
well, that's
plenty
coming.
to say on those.
All right, I'll keep you posted, man.
Excellent. Sounds great.
All right, we'll be right back.
And now, Rick has a simple question. Why?
George Lucas, the ghost of Anakin Skywalker. Why? The last time we saw Anakin, he was an old dude who had a change of heart. His son fixed the problem, and Anakin fulfilled his destiny by throwing the Emperor to his death. So why have a young Anakin at the end? Why? That's just stupid. You ripping my childhood, Lucas?
Welcome to the Weaver High School store. We have many items you'll need for school. Oh, should I start over? Okay. We have pens. Oh, you won't believe what just came in from Wright Brothers. It has an amazing flow system. Writes upside down. Or you could just get a Bic. How about some paper? We have notebook paper of all kinds. Standard, college rule, legal pads, steno pads, spiral pads, white, yellow, and that's about it. Oh, I know you Tigers want to show your true colors in that upcoming game against the Panthers. Buy school swag here. Thanks, and come by our store. Now what do I say? Oh, okay.
And now, Rick has a simple question. Why?
Michael Bay. Why? That's really all I got on that one. You still raping my childhood, Lucas. Hey, appreciate everybody hanging out with us again, man. Such an honor to have Rob G on our show hanging out. And again, I think you can tell the guy knows what he's talking about. So a lot of good information and just a real nice guy. Appreciate him coming on and giving us this time. I know he's busy doing other things. So for him to stop and do this is just greatly appreciated.
Yeah, definitely had a fantastic time with him on the show and some insight from somebody else who loves the movies as much as we do. We hope that you run out as fast as you can and you find these two movies so that you can watch them on your own and you don't have to go by our guide. But if you don't, you won't have as much fun.
They are awesome. Both of them. Great movies. So something a little different this episode. So hope you enjoyed it. Next episode may be delayed a little bit unless we come up with something special to put in between here. But that weekend, we will be on our way to Texas Frightmare. And we are planning on doing some sort of episode while we're there. Going to meet up with, hopefully, Johnny Krug while we're there. Get to hang out with him a bit. And looking forward to it, man. I love going there. Right.
So, yeah, Texas Frightmare weekend. We've gone several times. It's a lot of fun.
And that's where we discovered Killer POV and getting to meet Rob. And all that leads to the point we're at right now. So, Texas is a great time, man. It's a long drive, but that's part of the adventure.
And we like adventure.
Hey-oh.
If we get Talon to come along with his three-bladed sword, we could have quite the adventure. Or
women to love.
and women who dress as males for newspaper articles.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. You guys keep going to Legion, checking everything out. Appreciate it, man. We just got some news for the last month that we were the second most downloaded show. So that's you guys making it happen. We appreciate that. Keep it going. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
All right. We appreciate you today. Apparently, I'm not ready.
Space dudes.
Space dudes. Welcome back to Yo Mama's podcast.
Yeah, the Rick, Rob, and two guys named Buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You've been Rick robbed.
I've been Rick robbed. Never gonna give you up. Click. Whatever.
I'm trying to think of what to say at the beginning too. I'm at loss. Changing the pace a little bit, and we've gone through the sci-fi and the other wish-wash. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm just yabbing.
Mishmash, wish-wash.
Mish, wish-wash.
Crippity crap. Yeah, it's not Spartacus.
Thank goodness. Spartacus in the 80s.
Am Spartacus.
So without further ado, how do you do, Mountain Dew?
You just gotta work Mountain Dew in there some way, don't you?
I'll tell you, man, I don't know what's going on.
We're just gonna start screaming. Here's the show.
Welcome to the show, Sam Kennison.